This is what it is to actually feel the exquisite. It's what it means to feel something that is bigger, stronger, faster. My life is on a ever impending motion picture. When the stars actually say their names, specifically Twinkle, uh, Burst of Flame, you got Twix, like the candy. They call it stardust. When you see a burning star begin to explode because it's shedding its fumes, its fire. Don't you think that that's the beginning of the universe having a duo effect? Isn't it so? What are you pondering?
Just thinking.
Do you know the brain's anatomy is capable of carrying at least 200,000 screws in it?
What?
Literally, the human anatomy has the capability of carrying 200,000 screws the size of microorganisms.
Really?
What do they call a quarter pounder and cheese? I think it's in France or something.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
A Royale.
A Royale? I don't know French.
What do you think about?
Give me some more beer. That's all?
Yeah. If you really believe the moon, if you really believe that it was a hoax that we never landed on the moon, there are two emphases that I could actually impend on in believing that to be so. The astronauts or the people who were in the Space Kennedy Center, they had to have been on lots of LSD at the time. And they were hanging around their buddies and they were making all kinds of practical jokes. And they said, you know what, Roby, we got to come up with something that all of the people will believe and be naive. We'll say that we went on the moon because we're so high. We got to try to emanate something that replicates what it means when getting high on this LSD. So we're going to reach as high as we can, and we're going to put man's footprints on the moon. That's exactly how it came into fruition. Is this yours?
No, that's the water.
Where?
That's right there. Mine's right here, and that's yours.
Have you ever had someone argue with you about why?
No. No.
Well, what about someone saying that the grass is not really green? It's just a reflection of pharmaceutical chemicals in the earth.
That's baloney because the chlorophyll makes the grass green anyway.
What do you think about stem cell research, you think it has any thing as far as a cure for diseases?
Yes, but you can use your own stem cells on the person. You don't have to abort babies for stem cell research from embryos.
Why do you think abortion in the first place became legal? If you're talking on a philosophical or even a, moral or scientific compass for a reason.
I can't answer that. I really don't know. All right.
Chow, you seem like a very intertwined person. As far as I could say this, there are only two rights and there are only two wrongs. You know what they are? The one right is that we are here and benevolent to everything that is around us. We are animals and we are programmed to live based upon our instincts of survival. And as a matter of fighting for our own survival is what is right. That is simply what, that guy Andrew we were talking
But
to.
we have free will.
Well, free will is a matter of survival at the same token. But you have to remember, suppose you were desolate and you have no way to actually survive off of food and you are hungry. And if you're in Ethiopia somewhere or you're in a destitute land and you steal a loaf of bread just to feed yourself, is that considered thou shalt not steal?
Technically not. Fountain just went off.
But what about the token of, love thyself? It's very coincidental that people who say love thy neighbor, they tend to hate themselves more than they hate others. And those are the people that have sympathy. The ones that really have sympathy for other human beings, I kind of hate to paraphrase this, is that they have more self-loathing for themselves because they see them.
I think that's me.
And how do you categorize yourself with self-loathing, if so?
Because I always felt there was something wrong with me when I received shitty treatment. I thought it was my fault.
Do you think that everything that we do is either our fault or not our fault in life?
No, this happenstance, this coincidence, this chance. Like we really lucked out tonight. We could have really been burned. I could have peed my pants.
That gate that was in the back door, the side entrance, luckily it was open. I don't know what came about, the, what do you call it, at the gate up here that it was broken all of a sudden. You couldn't even open it to get anybody to walk in. But every game that we play is a survival of the fittest, Maine. Here, can you open another one of these bottles? Thanks, my friend.
Where's the opener? Got the opener?
The opener, right here. They say trust an enemy more than you would actually trust a real friend. Don't you believe that?
Because the people who are closest to you are the ones surprised you can stab you to death. What happened? Didn't work. There we go. Hey, Kev. Oh, can I pour me? You see it. Okay?
Mm-mm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. Gracias.
Come on, what's you doing? They use up my new lighter.
Someone talked to me about that the moon scientifically has something to do with the Earth itself,
Of course it does. Oh, the oceans.
but it's an extension of the Earth.
Yes,
At
it is.
one point, it was the Earth that got split because of a Big Bang
I
accumulation.
believe so.
The truth is, we're part of the Big Bang that gets ousted with a black hole that all we are is sucked up and then spit up into oblivion from the universe. Or I should say choked up. You think Sigmund Freud was right about the sociological aspect of man?
The ego, the id, and the superego?
Yes.
Don't know. All I know is he was an atheist.
Why do you think he had such a sexual that he was in some sort of way?
Mm-hmm. His id, ego, and superego probably were a way of explaining his own weaknesses, I guess.
Immanuel Kant actually said,
I think, therefore I am. Yep.
but he also said that there's a thing called parallel universes. And guess what he actually phrased when he said that we are facing a duo of parallel universes? He used a metaphoric phrase saying, you and I verse at war. So think of a universe at war. Think of, you know, astral plane, the spirit.
I know what it is. I had it. I experienced it once.
It is conquering outside of the body and it is visiting extraterrestrial realms. And in those extraterrestrial realms, there are falling universes imploding and exploding,
Yeah, but I
creating
didn't
different chaos.
I didn't visit an extraterrestrial realm. I visited Vietnam.
So basically, what he said is that our souls are constantly battling sort of different playing fields of existence. But he was more of a pseudo scientific and also experimented with, you know, physics on the quantum level of meaning of our existence and the soul, the core of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And that also matter is what he says is what we are, and that we continue to form as we pass on, and that we become of new matter, and that we keep changing, and we're different objects physically in this playing field of existence or outer existence.
Smooth as your cigar, really?
Como va?
How's it going? Muy bien.
It means come check my rhythm.
No, it means how is it going? Actually, you don't say como va, you say como está, how are you?
Yeah, but Carl Santana said it. Como va?
Well, he was saying, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, but it also means
Oye, como va? Yeah. Hi, how are you? How's it going? Yeah, you're right. Where's he from? Is he
I think
Cuban?
he's from I think he's from Tijuana, Mexico.
Really?
Yeah.
Want to hit me?
Bottoms up. The only problem is that you drink fast.
I know.
You got to be able to sip it slow
I know.
because once you drink it fast, you actually kill the vibe.
Right.
You know, they have every year on Broadway and abroad the show Mary Poppins.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood what made it such a classical play or musical, whatever it is.
It's a great fantasy for kids to escape the humdrum life they have with their parents. The mother's always having bridge clubs. The father's always busy at work. And through her, she got them to realize that they were neglecting their kids. And they grew to love them more. That's it.
What do you think the sanctity of life is then? They talk about that you're considered a human being at conception.
Yes.
But then what about people that are living full adults? They don't have any regard of their lives that it's, and I'm not saying this to try to argue, of course, about the issue of pro-choice or abortion, but we notice they fight for babies to be born.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing that's very contradictory of people when they are pro-life, and I'm not arguing about pro-life itself morally, but take a look at the system when people go on welfare or people fall through the cracks. They won't go out of their way, I'm saying the system, to do a damn thing for you, to give you some kind of a, try to pull you up by your strap or give you some kind of leeway. It's like
I know, they give you welfare.
No,
It's
they
lazy.
no, it's worse. They actually let you die. Because even homeless shelters, you go up, let's say in West Point, in New York City even.
West Point.
Out east, it's in
Oh.
Long Island.
Right.
But I'm saying West Point, shelters, like if you go up in New York City, it's like people get knifed up and murdered and they get killed or their throats slit, and there is no circumstance for, basic survival. It's like they allow you to pretty much be animalistic in all different possibilities, and they don't care what happens to you. So they allow people to actually fall and die while they're falling through the cracks. And yes, people put themselves where they're likely to be in a homeless situation or environment. There are people who want money and they spend it on drugs and they're not responsible and they deserve sometimes because they willfully put themselves to where.
Yeah, but if it weren't for Mercy and Mary Haven, I would have been homeless with my mental condition. So they helped me.
But what I'm saying is that this world ultimately doesn't really care about your existence, is what I'm
That's
saying.
true. That's true.
But
Yeah.
yet, the thing is that they'll protect a life as far as a life being brought into this world. But then once it's in the world, then how come you don't apply those same principles?
I don't know.
It's just a double standard.
I know. I don't know.
I'm making heat with the heat makers. You know what they call a cheeseburger in a fancy expression more than what it's actually labored to be, the way that
flambe on a bun
beef.
or pomfret.
How long do you think that this terrain, like where we are, this land has actually existed for?
Years and years and years.
What was life like, Dave, for you back in 1977?
Lynn visiting me from Sears. I remember the exact day I blew up, November 16th, 1977. Then in February 78, I walked into her store and I had her walk right past, and she walked right past me. That's it.
The funny thing about women is that yes, they're eyeing me specifically because they like me, they like my style, that there's something about me that yes, that they could want to somehow connect, possibly is as far as energies. But I think they hesitate after they think about it, because usually they'll act in the moment on saying that they like you sometimes, but then other factors in their personal life that they realize it's not practical for me to get involved with so and so person at this time. So that's how you end up getting flaked. But it's not deliberate because you necessarily messed up your game or that you said something particularly that turned her off. It's just that real life takes place. And sometimes they have something external going on in their lives or internal that they can't really focus on, new relationships, etc.
Well, she had told me she had a boyfriend. I still haven't talked to her. And you know what? When I was in North Babylon, I remembered very distinctly now. One of the employees told me that she was stealing. And I didn't believe them. And maybe she was.
So what does that indicate for you?
I took my emotions over my reality, over my common sense, over my logic. I should listen to the employees.
Do you trust them? Yeah, but did you
Did
ever
I trust the employees?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
You know what? Never reveal any secrets to people in the workforce, because they're your biggest, what do you call it?
problems.
So I would say more, I'm trying to really think now. Frenemies.
Hmm.
Frenemies in business.
Yeah.
They use whatever tactics of whatever you say or console to them as a way to tarnish your competition or reputation.
I'm gonna dump this in the plants. I'm not gonna carry it down. You know, Kev?
Mm-hmm.
Wish I put these cups in the back of the car, in that little trough there.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Whatever, just throw it out when it's all finished.
No, the bag I'm talking about. The bag of cups.
It's all going to be thrown out. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Don't you
I
feel
think
like-
I think I waited a while for a change.
Don't you think that you could go back in time with all the stuff that you know now? Imagine you had it all at the age of 25, what you knew, like in the future, in your future self. You see yourself at 25, right? With all the knowledge that you would have had of a 67-year-old being 25, would you do things differently?
Yes, I would.
You probably would have married Leslie, right? Made sure of it.
Possibly. Or Kathy if I hadn't had my signals mixed.
You find it anything, you find it more, let's say, of an absence of yourself not being married or being the type of family guy that you supposedly wanted?
Do I feel
Yes,
a vacuum, emptiness
yes.
because of not being a family man? Not anymore. Because I have you guys.
That's good, Dave. These things go pretty fast.
Yeah, they do. Thank you. You saving Cavassier for the last two bottles?
Yeah, I was thinking about the part when the guy said to Vig Rhames and Bruce Willis, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by the throat. If he hollers, let him go. My mother says to say you're it." Imagine when he said to Marcellus, they took him and he's like, so they grabbed in the back room and they were like pounding him or whatever. Can you imagine Marcellus getting his shotgun? Like, imagine he's about to leave because he wanted Butch dead because he screwed him over and made another deal with another fighter or whatever it was. And imagine if he said, you know what? Nah, I can't go very well in my conscience like this. I got to do something. So imagine he gets the same sword that Butch had, and Butch used to slice the guy, remember, and stabbed him with the sword in Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Marcellus Wallace would do? He would just do a Sun Tzu chop, and the guy's head would fall right off, and he would chop it like into a coconut style. And then you would see Butch.
Like a shell.
Butch would be like, you know, his hands were tied up and his legs, and he was on the floor and leaned over. And you see, what's his name? Marcellus Wallace. He's like, step aside. And as he says to the guy who's trying to pin Bruce Willis, and he takes the shotgun, and you see him blow a hole right through his balls and his penis. Shoots it with a shotgun when you see it actually explode. And then he unties Willis and he says, "Are you all right?" He's like, "No, I'm not all right, man. I'm not all right." And he's like,
No, I'm not all right.
"Listen, today was a day that you got a horrible spanking and you had a wedgie pulled over you. I'm sorry that your manhood today had actually been very robust with a thrust. All I could say to you is I feel sorry for you. But this is what happens. But this is what happens when you play double gamble. Now you must leave out of town right now, and you lost your LA privileges."
Oh, he couldn't do anything in LA anymore?
No, what I'm just saying, imagine if it was reversed, where I'm saying that Marcellus had to like save, Willis's character in the movie. I talk about what I don't really preach. I don't really say anything except what is in for me is something greater. Then I see myself on a large escalator going to some place heavenly that I hope that there's bubbly champagne bubbles on my mind. Think about finding the great wine in the grapevine to do what I gotta do. So say me and don't play me. I do it right till the morning. I just don't know why so many say that they're loyal, but they use mistrust. Somebody's gotta bite the dust. You mean the one at Victor's? It
Yeah.
does. It's not better, but I would most likely say Ming's, yes.
He's better than Mings, right?
007, when Bond dies, Bond is so stressed because he can't get a sit on his adversary or enemy. It's like his best friend, and while he was up on that crater, he was, in the GoldenEye movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. So I love it when he says, because going back thinking about the movie, it's been many years since I've seen it, but he says, looks at him as he's getting roughed up. He's like, James? And Bond is just looking with this blank expression, like he doesn't know what is hitting him or what just hit him. So then the guy, his friend Alex, says, "I was always better." Kicks him and he falls all the way down the ladder. It's just like Chuck Norris, who's supposed to be one of the world's greatest martial arts. He can't even throw a single tap of even a slap to Bruce Lee.
I know.
It's like you watch Return of the Dragon.
I know. You showed me.
Bruce Lee just with like
You showed
set
me.
with like he does 5 karate kicks on him, does a couple of nunchuck punches and then kicks him flying into the chest, and he goes right through a whole town of bricks. Comes to show you that even the greats tend to fall weak. That even the villains, or sometimes the opposite side of whoever is of greatness, turns to be the one who is the fan favorite or the hero. And you notice women tend to go more towards the villain.
Yeah, I know. It's more exciting for them. That's not Mars. I don't know what that is. The planet, all the planets are visible at the same time during the year.
You know what a half moon really symbolizes, right?
Yeah, a bathroom.
No, it's called a half night.
A half night?
Yeah, it's not
Is
a
that
full
half
night.
an hour or is that 3/4?
Well, it's almost 3/4, but when it's a half moon, it's only a half night. It's not a full night, because the moon dictates pretty much the night itself.
Have you seen the full moon set from your window yet? Or have you been sleeping? I guess you've been sleeping.
Yes, I have.
You saw it set?
Yes, I did. Can you imagine the Burj Dubai? They built that thing to make it the highest structure in the world.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, a small mini sandstorm wrecks the whole entire thing, and it falls completely down.
What? Are you serious or are you just kidding?
No, I'm saying imagine a sandstorm.
Oh, yes,
A
yes.
small, tiny little fraction of a sandstorm
Yes.
is able to topple the entire thing. Imagine how funny that would be.
Very funny.
You know, that guy we were talking to was really saying some really heavy stuff. Like,
Andrew?
yeah, he was saying that he witnessed actual what do you call it?
Torture.
Terrorist threats and bombs go off literally in public places and buildings, and he said he's seen it with his own eyes, and he said that the media never reports the real casualty notes.
No. I know that.
He was talking about Waco, that it was something we created.
We can create Waco.
According to him and his theory, yes, we did.
Timothy McVeigh?
No, Waco.
Oh, David Koresh.
Waco was a man who was, you know, in an asylum.
Right.
He was just this whack job, but really they made him they actually turned this guy into somebody who was a whack job. You know what they did? They made him swallow paint.
Oh, God.
And guess what? He had poisoning of his blood that caused him to
And
bubble
lead
up.
poisoning in the brain.
Yeah, but really it was a government insurgent that they were actually trying to extraterrestrial life a secret. That was part of Waco. And this man supposedly was trying to investigate, you know, the whole thing with UFOs. You know, if you look at in the book by David Cooper, William Cooper, Behold a Pale Horse, talks a lot about UFOs.
You read him?
Yeah,
You read
he-
Cooper?
Yeah,
Pale Horse?
yeah, well, he was a quack job, but he wasn't lying necessarily either. Problem with him is that he was more on par with, let's say, what Alex Jones is, but he took it to another level. I was watching one time a disturbing interview with Ted Bundy. He actually said that all of the victims, the women that he killed, he said he had no feeling of doing it.
Oh, God.
And he said
Was he abused?
he came from a pretty conservative upbringing. I just think that it had to do with some chemical imbalance in his brain. But he said that when he, you know, committed murders, it was like going to the bathroom and wiping yourself.
Oh, God,
And
he
he
said that?
and he said it was like tying a shoe. I didn't look at it where it was anything different from any normal act. It's like he was even trying to sound sadistic, but he just said literally like I had no control to any emotions or any kind of
Feelings.
feelings that gave me a negative stimulus to my brain.
God, that's terrible.
And he says, you know, when I die, I just feel like it's just my own conscience and my own impulses in my brain that will just shut down. I don't look at it as anything more to rectify or to get in depth of.
Did they execute him
Yes,
in Florida?
yes.
When was he around? What years?
74, 76, 78.
78, I don't remember, as I told you.
He was executed in 1989.
This is it, Kev, for a long time. Maybe even for good. Okay?
You got to go for that $2 special tomorrow.
Can you make it time?
I
What
could.
Is it all day or is it just till 11?
Well, it's all day, but you want to get there in the morning, don't you?
Of course I do.
They're actually preparing a sausage and biscuit for you to dress up in a costume. And they're going to have you literally walk around where the scavengers are. They're going to eat off of you, and then that's how you're going to slowly deteriorate out of your outfit. You're going to dress up in a gigantic patty, and you're going to have two biscuits. One biscuit is going to be covering your head and shoulders. The other is your waist and legs. And you're going to have mustard and ketchup sneakers.
Take the label off.
You're going to have mustard and ketchup sneakers. That's going to be the dip.
To do it, put it in the cup right here. Yeah. Got it? Okay.
Literally, Dave, that's going to be you walking around as the breakfast sandwich person.
A sandwich.
Mulligan.
I'm almost down to half a tank again.
I know, it's something, right?
What if we don't spend it on cigars with your next check? Kev? A what?
A cigar is just a cigar is a quote from Sigmund Freud.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
You mean there's no benefit from it? Is that what he's saying?
No, it was just a metaphor. It's a phrase,
Oh, I see.
meaning that something is whatever you could refer something to. If it's something plain and simple, then that's what it is, and it just is that.
Nothing more or less.
Yes. Like a lie is a lie. There's no such thing as a fib or a white lie. A lie is simply a lie. Nothing more and nothing less.
What if you lie because you don't want to hurt someone?
Still a lie. I know that you lie saying that I don't want to go to Bascom because I'll become a Bascom case. That's why you say it. It's the truth.
No, I can't go to basketball. They don't take my insurance.
But what if you have Geico and you just say, here's a green gecko. It's the Geico logo. It's a real gecko. Let it run around and see if it could eat out the rabbit hole.
What, you know?
You talking to me? Are you talking to me? You talking to me? Talking to me? You talking to me? You got a problem?
Was it a taxi driver?
You got a problem? You got
Was
a
it a taxi driver that you showed me?
you got a taxi driver? You got a taxi driver? You got a taxi driver? I heard that Evel Knievel was an evil man.
Are you serious? Or
Yes.
are you just saying that?
No, Evel Knievel was an evil man. You want to know why? Because all his stunts were about trying to perform threesomes on his bicycles.
Come on.
No, literally, they
Are
were
you serious? Women?
no a threesome himself performing on his bicycles when he was doing deadly stunts. They were called threesomes because he was doing deadly threesomes and how he could expose himself to all kinds of sufficient deaths. You know, Christopher Reeves simply.
Christopher Reeve. Yeah.
Christopher Reeves one day was on his horseback and he was riding and then he just fell off
I know.
and that's how he ended up breaking his neck.
I know.
If that didn't occur, he would have been alive. Presumably.
Yeah. He's a good Superman, too. I like him.
You know, he didn't like. He did it by saying, "Thou shalt not eat peanut butter." So you know what? Grinded them up. He put them in a smoothie, and he said, "Thou shalt drink of the smoothie cup." And guess what? It had holy soil in it, and he drank it. And he put peanut butter, which peanut butter is bad in terms of, you know, your overall digestive system.
Then why did George Washington Carver discover the peanut then? If it's
Because
bad.
his brain was the size of a peanut. Yep, my friends, and we here, having a blast, going back from the, or else you'll be gone quick like quick mass of quicksand to bland. Say goodbye or hi to my friend Blanche.
Yeah.
King Stanch.
Yeah, stench. Stench. Blaine Stench.